Okay, oh my god guys, so my first crack. It's going to be a nightmare trying to get to that weld. So here we are, a nice selection of rusty bolts. Because they will be scrap. Just hopped in the daily and I'm going to drive about an hour and a half to meet Benny, and this is to collect a rear wheel hub that he has, and I'm going to use this to support the Advans whilst I try to split them, because I find that this is going to be a lot safer and a lot easier to do than trying to do them on the car. So, been there many a time. Benny does have an incredible collection of old classic JDM wheels. One wheel hub, so that should help me a lot when it comes to splitting the wheels. So with that, head straight back, get it to the farm, and I can start attempting to split these wheels. So we are back at the unit, and I have already mounted the hub to my vise, so hopefully that's more than secure. And then I can get one of the wheels on, and what I'm hoping to do is remove the hardware. That's all going to need to be replaced anyway, but I want to remove the hardware to see if I can release the face. And if I can do that, I'd like to take it to be vapor blasted and then just have a look at the condition underneath the paint, and then see if any repairs need to be carried out before I send it for either powder coat or paint. I haven't quite made my mind up which I'm going to go for just yet. But yeah, let's get it on and see if we can get all these nuts and bolts undone and removed. So there it is mounted, just pinched into my vise. And hopefully we can get this on, like so. And very kindly, Benny gave me a couple of nuts because this is a different pitch to the Toyota, as this is off a Nissan Primera, one of the early ones. But once these are secured into place, that is going to make life so much easier to grind this. So honestly, really appreciate this, Ben. This is definitely going to help me out a ton. So I will, get these nipped, and then I will start removing all of this hardware from the rear. What I'm wanting to do at the moment is just to see if this face will separate itself, because it is welded. If I get a torch, it is welded at the back. So I'm hoping that that's not going to affect me removing the face. I think it might. And if it is, it's going to be a nightmare trying to get to that weld. But yeah, we'll have a look. And hopefully it all comes away, because I was hoping initially, I thought that this is face mounted, which I think it is. But yeah, the weld, we'll see. We'll see. I'll undo these bolts and we will go from there and see what I have. Okay, that was surprisingly a lot easier than what I was expecting. A little bit of WD-40, soaked for 5-10 minutes, and they came off very easy. Just a 12mm socket and a 6mm Allen key. So here we are, a nice selection of rusty bolts. So yeah, these actually came out really easy, but as thought, it is obviously welded, and yeah, I've never seen this before. I kind of assumed that with the lip underneath the face, with the face being dropped on and bolted, I thought that was it. I wasn't quite expecting it to be welded inside. Obviously I'm aware of this weld to hold the barrel and the lip together to seal those two, but not the face. Yeah, it's gonna have to be done, and I've got 4 of them to do, so I might as well remove all of the hardware from the other 3, and I might even remove the valve as well, to be fair, because I want to find a replacement for these. And yeah, find a tool that will be good enough to break that weld without damaging the wheel, because I wanted to keep this barrel. I wasn't going to replace this, and obviously I don't want to damage the faces, so I'll have a little look on the internet, see what people may have used, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got my grinder, and I've bought an 80 grit flap disc, and I think this is probably going to be the best way to get this weld down as close to the face and the barrel as possible, and hopefully without damaging anything. I mean, these are the least aggressive option, and this is why I've decided to go for this. It may take a bit of time, but this is the least aggressive, whereas like the grinding type stones that you can get for these will really dig into the metal. Now, overall, what I'm hoping to do is just remove enough of the weld on the back that when I then cut through the center here, I can hit the face from the rear, and hopefully it will crack what's remaining of the weld to then release the face, and then I can clean up the rest of it whilst it's off. So yeah, it's going to take me a good few hours to get through these, but I think this is going to be the only option that I have. So yeah, I'll get this plugged in, and yeah, I'll give it a go. So this is what I've got so far, and if you have a look, I mean, it is starting to break through just there, which is great. This is literally about 2-3 minutes worth of grinding very carefully, but if you can see here, the welding is actually pretty poor, because you can actually see where the face and the barrel meet, and the weld hasn't even penetrated the two together. Same here and same here. So in a way, with this wheel anyway, it's good, because at least then I can see roughly where I need to grind, and hopefully the weld will start to crack once I use a chisel. But yeah, I'm going to try and get it as flat as possible, and yeah, go from there. You can see where I am scuffing the barrel, but as I said, I'd much rather that, and it is just superficial. These are definitely the safer option, as I mentioned. So yeah, I'll keep going, and hopefully at some point I'll make a breakthrough, and then I can cut it along here, and we can separate the face from the barrel. Safe to say that this is a case of all the gear, but no idea. So with all of that off, let me show you where I've got to with this wheel. So I'm about, I don't know, time's gone quick. I would say 15 minutes, give or take, I've been at this. And as you can see, I've done all of the inside, and this weld is much flatter. And as I previously showed you, you can see where the weld actually missed joining the face to the barrel. So at least I have a guide at roughly the distance between the centre of the hole to where I need to grind. So what I'll probably do is measure this and make markings all the way around, and I will use just the edge of the flap disc to go around that line, which should then hopefully eat away at the weld, which is where the split is. So when I then grind through here, with a light tap of a chisel, all of these should separate from each other and we should have 3 individual pieces. So that's what I'm going to do next. Measure this, and because I'm hoping, well, I'm assuming that none of the other wheels are going to have weld missing, I'm going to take this opportunity to, as I said, measure the distance, and I'll write that measurement down and I'll use that when doing the other 3 wheels. And I don't know if the camera can quite pick it up, but I'm looking at 22mm. So that is the measurement I'm going to write down. So I know that if I do that all the way around here, that line should be exactly where the gap is, and I can grind that away. So then the weld is as thin as I can get it. So as I said, cut through this, chisel it, and it should crack. So what I'm going to do next is get this back onto the hub setup and change this to a cutting disc, which I have here, and we'll try and cut this as central as possible. But I have mentioned in the previous video that I will aim more towards the lip, because we are looking to keep the barrel, whereas the lips have been replaced. So if I slightly dig into the lip, it's not a problem because they will be scrap. So there you go. I think I've got that as central as possible. And as you would have just seen, all I have to do is just hold the grinder steady, and I can move this by hand, or if I just lightly let go, it will spin on its own accord. But yeah, I'm happy with that so far. I'm not quite sure how deep I need to go. I might, that's a bit deeper there. It's hard to pick up on camera, but yeah, I might get a chisel and yeah, give it a whack and see what we get. So I'm not sure if you can see. Yes, you can. So you can see along here, there's a score mark. What I actually did is I made this out of a bit of random plastic I found, measured 22mm and drilled a hole, and then just sharpened a punch. And all I do is push that against the inner of the drum, put this in there, and then whilst holding it steady, come round like this and score the area which I need to break through in the weld. And we measured that from this point here, where you can just see where the face meets the barrel. So I'm going to linish a little bit more off the face itself, because this is still quite thick, and I'm hoping by getting rid of that, it'll allow me to break through this weld. So I now have a decent and sharp chisel, so I can get this to hopefully break through the centre bit as well as this, because without breaking this, I don't think we're going to have any luck separating the lip. And I've also got a couple of these bits for my Dremel, and I was wondering if it'd be easier to get in and just cut through so it's a little bit neater, instead of keep grinding with the flap disc. So I've got a couple of options, but I'm going to try both and then see how it turns out. Okay, oh my god guys, so my first crack. So I went through this a little bit deeper. Ben recommended about 5mm, and this chisel, like I said, is brand new, nice and sharp. I've given it a whack, and as you can see, I have a crack appearing, which means hopefully I can then get the face out. But by pulling this, I'm hoping it's pulling the face with it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'll keep going, and hopefully we'll have 2 or 3 separate pieces. Three separate parts. The face, very happy with the condition. I was very careful to cut the rear weld. It's hard to know where to cut, but I think the little gauge that I made, which was 23mm, is about right. It does need a little bit of finishing up, but it's not a problem. And the first one is always the hardest. But now I know measurements and where to cut, the other 3 should hopefully be a lot easier. But yeah, the red here was an absolute nightmare to remove, and the jet of water that comes out the vapor blast is very strong, but this is the best that we could get it. So this may need to be media blasted or find another technique to remove the paint. But either way, for a 42-year-old wheel, very, very clean, very happy with that. The rear lip, I managed to save, cleaned it up quickly, but it does need a little bit more work just to get it looking as clean as possible. But you can see here, there's plenty of life left in this. So very, very happy with that. And at some point, this will be vapor blasted or media blasted to clean up, ready for some new fresh paint. The front was always going to be scrap. See here, it's bent. Trying to get the chisel in there to pull this away. I always knew that this was going to get damaged, but it was always going to be sacrificed for the bin. So I can get some ordered from Aero Elite, which is where I think I'll order mine. They do the rims carnated lips and barrels. So I need to have a word with one of those guys there and see what they can do for me. And I also need hardware also. Now, this is give or take 3 or 4 hours work just to split the one, and I still have the other 3 to do. And I'm hoping that when splitting those, they come out the same as this, where I don't do too much damage to the face, and we can rescue the rear lip. So once that is done, I can then establish exactly what I need to order, and I'm hoping that it will just be the 4 front lips and that we could save the other 3 barrels. It'll be nice to keep the original barrels, and to be fair, they're perfectly fine, and it also saves a little bit of money, which is always good. Also order some hardware, because I now know what I require, but I can do that as and when I've split them. So I'm going to split them all first, assess exactly the condition of everything, and then we'll go from there. But that will be in the next video, where hopefully we can start mocking up these wheels and we can test fit them to the car and get an idea of how they're going to look. But with that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.